Welcome, welcome, everybody, to the Morning Update Show. I'm your co host, Trey Holiday, and I got to do this with my co host, Ace, right there. There he is. Omari, what's up?
Trey Holiday, good
Happy Friday
afternoon.
Eve.
Friday Eve it is. It's also Throwback Thursday, and we got an incredible throwback right here because we actually have Cynthia Brothers and Martin Tran from Vanish in Seattle. So we're going to talk to them about a few things. If you guys don't know Vanish in Seattle, you're going to learn a lot about them today, and and the work they're doing to try to keep Seattle from vanishing. And Yeah, and also we got Besa. We got another edition of the Rewind with Besa. Besa talked to Key Porter about a bunch of different things in the cannabis industry, talked about social equity, and then also how people can get in where you fit in. Not everybody can own a dispensary or own a grow operation, but there's lots of ancillary businesses surrounding the cannabis industry. So we'll talk briefly to Besa as well. But before we do all that, man, how are you, Trey Holiday?
You know what? It has been a long week, my friend. Let me tell you, this training has got me getting some great information, but definitely keeping the day very busy. I'm making it happen, bro. How about you?
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely making it happen. And we got a story. We don't have it complete yet, and because of the sensitive nature of it, we're gonna wait till tomorrow. But Steve Hickey from Impactful Lens, he's been on top of that, the hate crime story down in Federal Way. And remember, I said yesterday, I said I think I know the victim, and I do. And actually, he's well known in our community. Was really a music pioneer. Years ago, and so now like the word is out as to who the victim was in this crime. It's growing. And so Steve Hickey's been staying on top of it, got quite a few different things and interviews and stuff like that. And so I think that we're gonna push our story about that hate crime in Federal Way tomorrow.
Yeah, there's been some updates. I saw some footage Cairo released yesterday. Some folks out here in Federal Way kind of talking about it and trying to figure out who he was, what happened kind of with the hit and run. So it'd be great to see what Steve Hickey has going on.
Yep. Again, big shout out to Impactful Lens. Where do we start today? Where do we start? How about I know a good place to start is that a few days ago, I think it was Monday. You weren't here on Monday, right?
Correct.
So we had Sade Smith, Sade No Chill on Twitter. Sade came out and she said that the feds, the federal government, namely the FBI, was basically surveilling and arresting protesters, charging them with federal crimes and holding them in federal custody. And it was great. We got a good amount of feedback on the internet. People were like, no, that's not true and everything else. Well, when I spoke to Prosecutor Satterberg the other day about the increase in gun crime, I also asked him about what the feds are doing in relation to protest and protest arrest. And here's the footage.
Is this something that you're seeing here, that the FBI, the federal government, is involved in arrest and charging with protesters here in Seattle?
So the United States Attorney has concurrent jurisdiction with the county prosecutor, and so there are cases, and I think there may be about 15 or 20 where the federal government has come in and grabbed cases that involve arson, robbery, and other cases that traditionally they might not have taken before. I think there's plenty of reasons to distrust the Department of Justice at the highest level. I don't have that same level of skepticism about the people who work in our local U.S. Attorney's office, because most of them started their careers in my office. I know a lot of them. I think that they're trying to help out in some ways, but I think there's reasons to be concerned that this is going to be a political thing, because you see from the very top where the Bill Barr, the Attorney General, or the President of the United States calls us anarchist jurisdictions, and then they're run by Democrats and all that thing. And so it has become political from the very top. I'm not convinced that what's happening locally to take certain cases is a political thing, but it's something that we should all be concerned about.
Does your office work hand in hand with the FBI as far as the protest cases?
Well, often the U.S. Attorney can take cases from the local police, so that doesn't have to be a federal investigative arm. So they've taken cases from the Seattle Police Department as well. So, we know that the FBI investigations typically don't involve, civil unrest, and so we're not seeing that here like you might see in other places. But the cases that the U.S. Attorney has taken have been investigated locally, some from the Bellevue Police Department and some from Seattle Police Department.
So there it is. You hear it directly from Prosecutor Satterberg. So for people out there who are like skeptical that the FBI is involved in protest arrests or anything else, said there's about 14 or 15 cases that are sitting with the feds right now.
Yeah, I mean, we saw this, and I think it feels like it was really exploded right here in the Pacific Northwest. We saw it happening in Portland. It felt like a huge droves, these unmarked vans. So I'm happy that we're able to really identify how that played out up here in our city.
Yeah, and there it is. Like I said, I got feedback on Twitter. People are like, Sade doesn't know what she's talking about. She's being inflammatory. You know me, man. I'm down to ask anybody anything. And so why not ask the prosecutor? What else do we have here? Oh, this is from the Seattle Times. Man, COVID, South King County, your stomping grounds out there. Let's put this up here. South King County, disproportionately affected by coronavirus. Communities of color continue to be the hardest hit as they're more likely to be essential workers, live in large groups, take public transportation, and have pre-existing conditions due to systemic racism in health. And so that's there in the Seattle Times. This is something that has really been an ongoing story ever since testing got more sophisticated here. If you remember, King County Council member Zahalai had actually talked about this disparity that's out there as well in South King County amongst with COVID. And I mean, it's just a concentration of I guess you'd say essential workers for lack of another term. People are out there on the front line every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And it feels like a real throwback Thursday, because this is something that we were reporting on heavily when the Morning Update show first launched. We were knowing that, there were folks in our communities that already deal with a disparaging amount of health disparities, right? We know the statistics. When you think about concentrations of folks, when you talk about the urban environment and being connected to the I-5 corridor, and how that, exposure to all of that exhaust and fumes has led to other disparities when we talk about breathing and respiratory system. So we know that there are direct correlations between where people live and how they experience these disparities. And COVID really put a highlight and spotlight on that.
Yeah. The thing is that these essential workers keep working. And, we see that no matter what's going on here, around COVID, especially people working at home. A lot of people have the luxury to work from home. I mean, even us right now on this show, we're able to do it remotely. But there's a lot of people who are not able to work from home, and they're on the front line. They're really getting hit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also, too, that is something we can't ignore or, think that, oh, well, we reported on it way back then. No, these numbers are still growing. So I'm glad that we brought it back up again. I'm glad that it's on the forefront of people's minds and that folks are actually reporting on it. Because, again, what we've seen in the last few months in this stretch of COVID is that those disparities are real. And we're talking about these spikes that are coming up in, the fall, the weather's getting colder. We're seeing these spikes. So it's important that we stay informed in this way.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that Nikki Barron could probably put a link in the comments as to where people can find testing sites. If you're out there in South King County, in that area, we can get a free testing going for you. Here's a story from yesterday. I wanted to play it yesterday. I think it's from King 5, where the mayor of Tacoma said that the goal there in the city of Tacoma, a city of about 200,000 people, is to turn Tacoma into an anti-racist city.
With a population of just over 217,000 people, transforming Tacoma into an anti-racist city sounds like quite a challenge. And the mayor says it won't be easy, but the process is necessary. And she's hoping a community-led team can help steer the city in the right direction.
Can a city be anti-racist?
I'm going to be honest, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen overnight. It's 400 years that it took us to get here. We are not, it's not going to happen in 6 months.
Dismantling systemic racism is a priority that Tacoma Mayor Victoria Woodard says needs to happen with the community at the helm.
There will be all community members who will come together to talk about how do we heal the heart of Tacoma? How do we transform? Because I'm not interested in talking about reform. How do we transform all of the systems that put barriers in place for people who live here?
The city is accepting applications to fill a 13-member group being called the Heal the Heart of Tacoma team.
One of the things that we know we have to incorporate if we're going to heal a heart, there's got to be recreation. There's got to be reconciliation, right? We've got to acknowledge the past hurts and harms that have been caused to people in our community.
Woodard says half of the members will be Black and the entire group will represent a variety of backgrounds.
We're not waiting for the community to tell us everything, but we do want to fully understand so that we can transform not just city government, but transform this city.
It's a transformation that weighs heavy on the city's third Black mayor.
To be able to make a change, and while it's heavy on my shoulders, it's my responsibility, and I believe I must be here at this moment, at this time, to do this work.
Woodard is hoping the team can be appointed by December. Britt Moore, King 5 News.
All right, Trey Holiday, the mayor there, the third Black mayor, they're on the Soul Patrol in Tacoma. Bold statement, said wants to turn to an anti-racist city. What are your thoughts?
I have to start off, I always, start off from a personal perspective. And I was just recently on a panel with Mayor Woodard, and I'll say this. Something about her passion for her community and for her city in Tacoma is real. It is very infectious. And, what we were working on was something centrally located around youth and getting youth really involved in the political process. But what she talked about was about this. I love how she said not reform, but a full-on transformation. She's really thinking about innovation at her level that will be citywide. And I think it's a really great example that she's setting for Washington, for other mayors to follow. How are you being intentional about uprooting these systemic practices that really create the disparities we see? And unfortunately, those resound around racial ethics. We see this a lot. We experience them in the Black community. They're definitely a fabric of our lived experience. And I think that she speaks to it so well. And honestly, I'm excited to see how Tacoma shapes up, because I think that she's a ball of energy that is going in the right direction. And, to be honest, I'm just excited that, there's a city in our state that's taking these kinds of progressive measures. You're muted.
Thank you. It would be interesting to do a spotlight on Tacoma and kind of see where they're at compared to Seattle. Of course, Seattle is 3 point some odd times bigger than Tacoma, but it'd be interesting to see how things are moving along there. Also here, I see we've got bases backstage. I'm gonna have to play this clip from Kansas City since we got bases there backstage there. But I talked to Alex Hudson. So Alex Hudson from Yes Transit, that's Seattle Proposition 1, and basically. And this is something when we talk about essential workers, people that are impacted, a lot of our viewers are essential workers. But apparently, according to Alex, Seattle Proposition 1 is an existing tax of 0.15%, and it funds transit basically, and free bus passes and everything else. I wanted to talk to her to see, is yes on Seattle Proposition 1 something that's impactful for our community?
Seattle Proposition 1 is the last item on people's ballots. It renews an expiring transit measure. It's a 0.15% sales tax. And what we're going to spend that money on is continuing Seattle's excellent transit system. We're going to buy 150,000 hours of transit service. We're going to continue affordability programs for seniors, essential workers, and people living in Seattle Housing Authority buildings. And we're going to provide a free transit pass to every Seattle public high school student in our whole district. In addition to that, we're going to make sure that there's targeted service for West Seattle, because those folks are stuck on that island over there, and we're going to do some spot improvements to make sure that transit is moving. Like I said, this is an existing thing that we're already paying for, so it's just a renewal of keeping what we already have. 1 out of 3 Seattle essential workers counts on transit, as do families like mine who use transit to get everywhere we need to go. So we want everybody to make it all the way down to the bottom of their ballot and hit yes for Seattle Proposition 1 so that we can keep buses moving in Seattle.
All right. So it's already a sales tax. You know, that's the thing. So nobody wants to pay more sales tax. It's a sales tax that's already being paid in the city of Seattle. You know, the flip side of the issue is, I mean, you see, it's lots of upside. Clearly, people depend upon transit. The flip side of it is do people, you know, can want to continue paying that 0.15% sales tax in a city that is highly taxed?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, this is what it always boils down to on these ballots when you talk about measures around how the tax dollar is spent. I mean, this is really, I think, at the heart of so much of what politicians feel is, you know, democracy, right? How do you spend your tax dollars? And this is where the people have their chance to weigh in. I'm glad that we were able to get her on here and that you did that interview so we could get an understanding. This isn't something that already exists. Don't worry, guys. It's nothing new, nothing going to tap your pockets extra. But I think that what she did highlight there is that there have been a lot of great uses of that tax. And I think that it's something that needs to continue. I mean, we were just talking about it. These COVID disparities are going to continue. And as a city, we definitely need measures around how to ensure that we're, you know, covering our bases. And transportation is one of them.
Right. I think most people agree that the actual services provided are cool. I think people are pushing back on just, you know, tax itself is the way that the services are paid for. So I got something else here before we go to break, and we'll come back with Besa. I talked to Jabrina Jackson Gandy and Curtis C. Calhoun. Jabrina, entrepreneur, author. Man, what else does she do? She's probably a pilot, an astronaut.
She's a mentor. She does so many things.
Yeah, Jabrina does a lot, and Curtis Calhoun's over there at Black Dot. That was actually Studio A. If you've been with us for a long time, then you know that the Morning Update show started in Studio A. Then we moved it over to Studio B. Studio A was a little itty bitty studio, but we got it popping. But it turns out that they're kicking into high gear over there at Black Dot and Jabrina, and they're really trying to reach out to, which was crazy. They said entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and micropreneurs. I didn't even know there was a micropreneur, but they're offering some classes next week, and you know we want to be able to work with them to be able to get the word out about that. So a lot of time, because right now is a good time to build a business. You know what I'm saying? This is a good time to figure out where you can be and try to build a business into that space. Let me find it. Here it is right here. This is Jabrina Jackson Gandy, Curtis Calhoun.
Yeah, so I am so excited. We have been doing some awesome stuff with Black Dot. They are all about Black entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and micropreneurs. And so this is a master class, a unique one, first of its kind with Black Dot that is taking place on Thursday, the 5th of November, part 1, and then part 2 of the master classes 1 week later on the 12th from 6 to 8 p.m. And, you know, the lifeblood of small, large, medium-sized startup businesses is sales, and sales as a result of marketing. So the focus for this 2-part masterclass is going to be on marketing, the marketing mindset, the critical elements of marketing. How are you doing with those in your business? It's also going to be a workshop where folks are going to roll up their sleeves and we're going to do some actual work. In the workshop, we're going to talk about 3 mistakes that I see that business owners tend to make over and over again that keep their business plateaued. We're going to talk about hitting the bullseye and what are the 4 elements that every business owner needs to line up to hit that sweet spot in their business and more. But yes, excited to be collaborating with Black Dot on this and empowering our Black entrepreneurs, especially in this season of COVID. We really need to kind of be reminded, refreshed, reinvigorated, and learn how to pivot and prosper.
All right, pivot and prosper. Let
Pivot
the church say amen.
Right. Amen. I mean, one of the great things about this particular course is that, again, it showcases the resilience in community. You know, Debrina is a powerhouse, partnering with Black Dot. Debrina's done so many great workshops through Black Dot and really bringing her lived experience to the forefront. I was happy to be able to sit down with Debrina as well. So Chats with Trey goes a little bit deeper, where we talk a little bit about her background, her personal story. So folks will get to learn a lot about Debrina this week and really learn about what this Poised to Profit workshop series is going to bring to the people.
Right. And people can get more information, go to Black Dot Seattle, whether it's on Facebook or their website or across social media.